So you have core constituents. What are the core constituents of public management model given by O'Toole? The first is public management in networks. He emphasizes O'Toole's emphasis on network governance. He says that in contemporary times, no public agency or institution operates. No public agency or institutions operate in isolation. They work. They work in collaboration with one other institution and agencies, and that make the thing very much challenging. On the other hand, it brings several benefits, but on the other hand, it also makes the things very much challenging. So networks, we work in networks, not in isolation. And if you have network of more than one institutions, it means different institutions, although they have come together to collaborate to accomplish certain things, but don't forget that every institution has its own distinct institutional identity, goals, and purpose, its value system. So therefore, when you have more than one actors and we have more than one institutional goals, then things become difficult. So you have different institutions or different actors, different goals and purpose, but certain things they converge. They converge. So in the process of collaboration or collective execution of the things, problems are bound to arise. So we need to develop things and mechanism to deal with that. So today, no public agency, you can see that no public agency actually operates in isolation. They work in networks, and network you have multiple goals and multiple actors, more than one actors and more than one goals. And therefore, challenges will always be there. What kind of challenges? To maintain accountability, cohesiveness, and effectiveness, trust-based relationship, and coordinating. You have more than one institutions, more than one, you have institutional goals. They come together for certain purpose. So there will always be some challenges and problems related to that operational cohesiveness. Unity of direction has to be maintained. Unity of direction has to be maintained. That operational cohesiveness has to be maintained. Then accountability has to be enforced. Then that resiliency has to be there, because remember, when two or more subsystems work together towards the accomplishment of some common objective, it does not mean that they have shed off their distinct identity. It means that they have distinct goals, but certain purpose, for the accomplishment of certain purpose, they come together. And remember, different organizations are constantly evolving, and they are not evolving with the same pace, not always in the same direction. They are different from one another in terms of their value system, in terms of their goals and institutional goals and objectives, the path which they prefer to follow. But they come together, they converge at one place for the accomplishment of some limited purpose. So in the course of doing so, you cannot expect that they have totally surrendered or they have shed off their distinct identity and goals. So that's why conflict, friction, little bit of conflict, friction will always take place. That is required to be taken care of. And when you are making collective effort, sometimes it becomes very much difficult to enforce accountability. Something wrong has happened. Central government would impose the blame. Central government may blame the state government, that you have not done what was expected of you. Or state government can shift, the blame on the central government, or both of them can shift it on some private sector organizations or agencies, or sometimes on the local communities or the technology companies, etc. So it becomes very much difficult to enforce accountability. But it does not mean that because of these limitations, we cannot, we should opt for something, other than this. No. Given the complexity of governance in modern times, it is not so much a matter of choice. It has become a matter of compulsion. It has become a matter of compulsion. You have to work with different institutions and agencies, because it is highly improbable that one institution will have all possible capabilities put together at one place to accomplish its goals or to formulate its policies and to implement such policies. You need network of institutions. You need network of institutions. You take the example of Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, or you talk about Manrega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Because here also you have central government, you have state government, you have some private companies running various projects. Then the local community is also involved. Local government is involved. Then you talk about Operation Sindoor. Operation Sindoor, it appears that you have Indian Army, Navy, Air Force, and you have the government of India, political leadership, administrative leadership, and your armed forces, then ISRO and the DRDO. and several other institutions, the drone that you are using, or various tools, techniques, weapons you are using. Here also you can see the contributions from the private sector. So you have government institutions and agencies, you have private sector or technology companies, getting a point. Then you have research and development institutions. And Operation Sindoor is not all about that. The media persons, they are also playing an important role. I'm not talking very specific sense, the broader sense. All of us are there. And citizenry is also there. So this is also example of network governance, networked response. And see the consequence, what happened? Fantastic collaboration. It has set a precedent, an example for the global community. That lot many things can be learned from this operation. One of the best example of network operation. Such a good collaboration, very much wizard, calibrated, goal-oriented, so much of precision, clinical precision. Within few minutes, few hours, you accomplish your goals and objectives with minimum damage or almost no damage. You have imposed huge military cost. Pakistan. This is the example of network governance. That we work together. You have National Security Council, you have NSA, you have political leadership, defense ministry, then you have the military leadership, then you have top scientists, DRDO, so on, several other institutions. And see how nicely they have accomplished the goal. It is not only a matter of having very high-sounding tools and technology. Your ability to draw appropriate strategy and taking tactical decisions, operational decisions, that operational cohesiveness, that unity of command, that unity of direction and purpose, collaborative action, so much of trust and confidence. That is that kind of rhythmic association of different institutions, agencies, so well aware of their distinct responsibilities, at the same time know where to collaborate, and where to associate with one another to carry out something which none of them could accomplish in individual capacity. The best example, a case study. भविष्य में हो सकता है इससे पढ़ाया जाए कि कोऑर्डिनेशन कैसे अचीव किया जाता है. इतने सारे इंस्टीट्यूशन नेटवर्क. You can achieve fantastic goals, but it is something which is required to be achieved by very organized action. This is not something that you can learn overnight. They have been working over a long period of time. That Operation Sindoor clearly establishes, it exhibits that something was going on sustained basis over a long period of time. There was very good preparation. Otherwise, this kind of collaborative action, well concerted, measured, calibrated action, you hit decisively, you accomplish, and you draw at your own choice. With a message that we can again initiate it any time. The blink of eye, we can destroy. And see the people on the other hand, they have also exhibited network governance. झूठ बोलना, चोरी, मतलब कि बेहयाई की हद हो गई. मार खाने के बाद भी सब मिले हैं. वहां की आवाम भी सब लेके चल रही है. ठीक है, मीडिया पर्सन भी बहुत सारे ऐसे हैं समझा रहे हमने भारत को हरा दिया, उसको फील्ड मार्शल बना दिया. फील्ड मार्शल बना दिया. अपनी दुनिया में ही है वो. झूठ मूठ कहाँ से वो फोटोग्राफी ले आते हैं. उनका काम ही यही सब है. उसमें उनका कोलैबोरेशन बहुत अच्छा है. आर्मी है, ISI है, जेहादीज हैं, पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप है, जनरी में से कुछ लोग हैं, सब मिलजुल कर यही सब फेक वही फोटो वगैरह और वीडियोस वगैरह ये सब बनाना, फेक वीडियोस वगैरह बना लेना, वहाँ का छुड़ा के यहाँ का छुड़ा करके दिखा देना. उसमें भी जहाँ कॉमन सेंस थोड़ा बहुत चाहिए, वो कॉमन सेंस भी नहीं है कि तुम जो पेंटिंग दे रहे हो ये सीधा सीधा दिख रहा है कि ये पेंटिंग तो चाइना का वो जो मॉक ड्रिल वगैरह कर रहे होंगे उसकी पेंटिंग है, गन्स की यहाँ दे रहे हो. तो नेटवर्क गवर्नेंस ऐसी बात नहीं है कि पाकिस्तान में नहीं है, वहाँ भी है, लेकिन उसका ओरिएंटेशन अलग है. झूठ फरेब में क्या सुंदर उनका कोऑर्डिनेशन है. एक साथ सब, कोई एक कम से कम जागृत होता वहाँ पे कि अरे बंद करो, ये हंसने और तमाशा करने का समय नहीं है, ये विचार करने का समय है. ये धीरे 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 एस्केलेशन होता जा रहा है. आप देखो, सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक के बाद बालाकोट एयर स्ट्राइक, और बालाकोट एयर स्ट्राइक के बाद अभी वाला पहलगाम में जो हुआ उसके अगेंस्ट में ऑपरेशन स्ट्राइक. धीरे धीरे न्यूज इज गेटिंग टाइटेंड अराउंड योर नेक, और तुम हंसी आ रही है, तुम जलसा मना रहे हो. मतलब सही में आदमी का समय जब बुरा आता है तो मती भ्रष्ट हो जाती है. अभी उनको बैठ के सोचना चाहिए कि वो क्या कर सकते हैं. तुम्हारे एयरबेस को उड़ा दिया, 11 एयरबेस को उड़ा दिया, हमारे आतंकवादी ठिकानों को घुस के घर में मार के आ गए वो. ठीक है, और तुम बैठ करके जलसा मना रहे हो, और तुम बैठ के तमाशा करो, झूठ फरेब फैला रहे हो. ये सोचने और विचारने का समय है, मत करो, हमारा क्या जाता. ठीक है, ये एग्जाम्पल ऑपरेशन सिंदूर लेटेस्ट एग्जाम्पल है. ये नेटवर्क गवर्नेंस का ही पार्ट है. ये वेलफेयर सब कुछ है, लेकिन एक से अधिक इंस्टीट्यूशन के क्या कर सकते हैं हम लोग? थिएटर कमांड की बात करते हैं, वो क्या होगा? वो भी नेटवर्किंग नेटवर्किंग है। आर्मी, नेवी, एयरफोर्स और कई एजेंसीज सबको मिला के बनाते हैं कॉम्प्लेक्स ऑफ वेरी meticulously designed productive interdependency of assets and resources, ठीक है, ऑफ डिफरेंट इंस्टीट्यूशंस, एजेंसीज, आर्मी, नेवी, एयरफोर्स सबको मिला के बना, जिससे कि जब कभी किसी भी एरिया में कोई प्रॉब्लम हो तो एक कलेक्टिव और वेल कोऑर्डिनेटेड एक्शन होता है ऑल साइड्स। आपने बना रखा है जिससे कि आप कॉस्ट को मिनिमाइज कर सके, इकोनोमाइज कर सके ऑपरेशंस को, और ऑपरेशंस की जो इफेक्टिवनेस है उसको और बढ़ा सके। मतलब एक जगह पे आपकी आर्मी, नेवी, एयरफोर्स वगैरह सबके रिसोर्स, एसेट्स, देखिए ये सारी चीजें एक जगह पे कोऑर्डिनेटेड है। जब भी कोई स्ट्राइक होगा तो फुल पावर के साथ, फुल कोऑर्डिनेटेड, ये है नेटवर्क गवर्नेंस। तो पब्लिक मैनेजमेंट एंड नेटवर्क थियरी दोनों को साथ लाना, यही काम है ओ टूल्स वही थियरी। इन कंटेम्प्रेरी टाइम्स पब्लिक मैनेजमेंट, पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन कोई आइसोलेशन में करने की चीज नहीं। ये सब, चाहे वो मनरेगा का मामला हो या फिर कौशल विकास योजना, आप ई गवर्नेंस का एग्जाम्पल ले लो। ई गवर्नेंस सरकार जो है, ई गवर्नेंस का बेसिक वो ऑब्जेक्टिव है ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन, ठीक है, डिजिटल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन, ठीक है, डिजिटल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के थ्रू सोसाइटी को कई तरह के गुड्स सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करना विद स्पीड एंड इकोनॉमी एंड कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव डिलीवरेंस ऑफ सर्विसेज। लेकिन गांव गांव तक वो सारी चीज़ें तो सब लोग वैसा अवेल नहीं कर पाएंगे सर्विसेज को, तो आपने कम्युनिटी सर्विस सेंटर बना दिया। इंडिया में एक पूरा एक नेटवर्क है कम्युनिटी सर्विस सेंटर्स, ई मित्र हम लोग बोलते हैं, वो सब सेंटर्स हैं, एक नेटवर्क है पूरा जाल, ठीक है। ऊपर सरकार जो है वो जो भी सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड कर रही है, ऑनलाइन सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करती है, बेटर अकाउंटेबिलिटी, बेटर एफिशिएंसी, ठीक है, फॉर कॉस्ट रिडक्शन, ठीक है। ये सब चीज़ें, पॉलिसी मेकिंग हैज़ बिकम ईजियर, यू कैन कलेक्ट फीडबैक, यू कैन अप्लाई करेक्टिव्स, ये सारी चीज़ें होंगी। लेकिन गवर्नमेंट ऊपर से बैठ के मिनिस्ट्रीज डिपार्टमेंट से अकेले नहीं कर सकती, एक पूरा एक नेटवर्क है, ठीक है। डिजिटल डिवाइड जो है उस गैप को ब्रीच करना, डिजिटल डिवाइड जो उसको कम करना। गांव में बहुत सारे लोग हैं अभी वो सारी सर्विसेज ई गवर्नेंस के गवर्नमेंट कर रही है, वो अवेल नहीं कर सकते, उनको कम्युनिटी सर्विस सेंटर पे जाना है, मामूली सा खर्च है वो देना है, वो आपको बिजली का बिल जमा देना हो या बैंक में खाता खुलवाना हो या पासपोर्ट बनवाना हो या कोई भी सरकार की सर्विसेज जो भी अवेलेबल है, ठीक है, ऑनलाइन उनको अवेल करना हो वो लोग कर सकते हैं। धीरे धीरे लोग खुद सारी चीज़ें सीख के अपने मोबाइल से करना चालू करेंगे। तो नेटवर्क and it assumes added significance, in a country like India, vast country, population, society is not so much homogeneous. There's a lot of disparity in income, wealth distribution in terms of education, health, other facilities. बहुत जगह पे differences. The help of information tech governance, we are trying to bridge that gap. Okay, but how to ensure that everybody is capable of availing of such benefits? So here you develop a network of institutions. लोकल लेवल पे लोकल कमिटी, वहां से लोगों को लेकर के आप एक नेटवर्क बनाते हैं। तो ऑन द वन हैंड दे ब्रीज दैट गैप, ठीक है, दे जो गैप है उस गैप को ब्रीच करते हैं, दे प्रोवाइड सर्विस सोसाइटी एंड ग्रेजुअली पीपल आर आल्सो लर्निंग, ठीक है, एंड द मैसेज इज देयर दैट थ्रू कलेक्टिव एंटरप्राइज वी कैन अकम्प्लिश एनीथिंग, ठीक है। वी कैन ब्रिंग सर्विसेज टू द डोर्स ऑफ पुअरेस्ट ऑफ द पुअर विद स्पीड एंड इकोनॉमी थैंक्स टू दिस नेटवर्क। Had it not been for our ability to explore the possibilities of network governance, it would be very much difficult for us to deal with corona crisis. Imagine, in the wake of corona crisis, we made full use of this network governance. So central government, state government agencies, police department, or even teachers were the part of that collaborative action. Or just a vaccination program to provide food and other kind of benefits or the medicine to the people, the door of the poorest of the poor, all such things became possible. Why? Because the government developed a very vast network of institutions from center to state to the local community, and so well coordinated with a lot of resiliency, a lot of flexibility. You have dispersed, you have decision making authority and power very prudently, that these are the decisions that you take on your own. Otherwise, there will be a delay in providing services. You decide the things on your own because you are proximate to ground realities. Okay, but up to this level, beyond that, decision has to be taken by state government, state government institution. And then at the top level, the macro level, that policy guideline and direction has to be given by the central government. Because when you have network governance, what is of utmost importance is coordination. What is of utmost importance is the leadership at the top. It is that leadership which is progressive, which is dynamic, which ensure unity of direction, unity of commands there. An element of centralization is required, otherwise decentralization will collapse. You need very progressive and adaptive and dynamic leadership at the top. These are the things which are associated with public management network theory and O2 dealing with possibilities as well as possibilities and then challenges and how to deal with them. So you have here public management in networks I have discussed, multi-organization collaboration, because he says that multi-organization collaboration is not everything. Multi-organization collaboration, more than one institution, agencies, public organizations, private organizations, research and development institutions, local communities, all of various companies, they put together their work. Because so you have, when you have collaboration, what is the problem? That different institutions are evolving with different pace and different directions. For certain purpose, they come together. That's why conflict friction might take place, which are required to be addressed very smartly, very prudently. Challenges to maintain accountability, cohesiveness, and effectiveness. Trust-based relationship, coordinating mechanism. Trust-based. It requires trust-based relationship because more than one organizations are there. Their relations should be based on trust and confidence. They cannot afford to work in different watertight compartments. They have their distinct operational domain and then they have to cooperate with one another. It requires a lot of understanding, mutual trust and confidence. And that's why we need some kind of coordinating mechanism. You need some officers sitting at the top. They are network managers. They keep exercise, they exercise vigilance over how this network is dealing with the things. In this network, if there's a problem with this subsystem or that system, it has to be addressed, it has to be neutralized, it has to be corrected. So it is not like just you have a network. No, you need a group of officers, very prudent, very capable, very much efficient. They keep focusing on the same network. So wherever problems arise, it is required to be, the problems are required to be diffused. And then it keeps working. Problems are bound to arise, but it has to be, you need some kind of mechanism. And then you have implementation and networks. I said that whether it is policy making or policy implementation, in both the cases, you need such network. With the vast network of institutions, agencies at the national level, state level, or the local level, implementation becomes possible. Implementation is a very dynamic activity. You may have taken decisions at the top, but those who are going to implement it finally at the grassroots level or the deliverance of services, they are more proximate to the ground realities. They are exposed to the will and aspirations or expectations of the communities. So therefore, those who are associated with implementations, they are required to be given adequate power and authority to change their stance and to bring desirable change, to have adequate power to decide the things or to change the things. Because local conditions very often at the time of implementation, at the local level, things may differ. Things may be at variance with what policymakers would have thought of. It happens. Local conditions differ from one district to district or state to state. So those who are involved in implementation, they are required to be given adequate space to bring changes in their nature and pattern of response, obviously within the bounds of certain principles. They cannot cross that limit, but this much of resilience is required. So implementation and networks, this network approach for implementation. So at the grassroots level, you involve various NGOs, non-governmental organizations or self-help groups, then the civil society, active citizenry, number of other institutions, so local panchayats, all of them, you develop a network and you assign the role and you get the things done. In the absence of this network or coordination, and best of the policies will fail to accomplish the desired. So at the level of implementation also, you need network. It happens contemporary times. आप मनरेगा या कौशल विकास योजना, कोई भी योजना आप ले लो, उसके अंदर क्या होगा? सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट भी है, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट का स्टेक है, उससे क्या करना है. फिर डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे आप देखोगे, डिस्ट्रिक्ट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन वो काम करता है. कई सारे NGOs हैं, वॉलंटरी एजेंसीज हैं, ठीक है, कई सारे इंस्टीट्यूशन एजेंसी रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट से जुड़े हुए हैं, वो भी आपको फैक्ट्स और फिगर्स देते हैं. एक कोलैबोरेटिव एक्शन होता है, उसमें जिला परिषद, पंचायत समिति के लोगों को इन्वॉल्व करते हैं, ग्राम पंचायत के लोगों को इन्वॉल्व करते हैं, सबका अपना अपना रोल है. सब मिल करके एक साथ जब काम करते हैं एक रिदम में, जिसमें कि कोशिश ये की जाती है कि देयर इज नो करप्शन, अकाउंटेबिलिटी फिक्स, रोल इज असाइंड, accountability is enforced, resilience is there. If any kind of problems do arise, please raise the problem, you need to develop grievance redressal mechanism. If there is any kind of complaint or friction or conflict that is required to be addressed, leadership in the district may be provided by the district collector. So things are assigned like this. What is clear? So you need networked approach for implementation. And finally, challenges in network governance, coordination and communication, as I've discussed, because in network governance means some kind of collaborative action is placed among different. So communication and coordination is extremely good. Communication coordination, because it is through communication that coordination. And communication is not only about writing a letter, writing a mail. Communication is about that they they are aware of developments which are taking place in the different subsystems. They must be capable of anticipating things, because communication never becomes complete unless the message sent by the sender has been understood by the receiver in the way and manner which sender wanted him or her to understand. So communication is not such simple thing that you are speaking something, I am speaking something, you are listening to me, and communication is complete. No. To what extent you have been able to understand, the message which has been encrypted in my words or something. So through body language or through what I speak or what I write. So unless you have understood the message in a way and manner which I wanted to understand, communication is not complete. That is, that communication will be a failed communication. And then you respond without understanding the thing. When you respond on the basis of half-baked understanding, your communication will also fail here. And if the communication fails, no cooperation and coordination takes place. Because communication is the key to cooperation and coordination. Therefore, you need to develop ways, means, and mechanism so that communication takes place among all the stakeholders, governmental institutions, central government or state government or NGOs, world agencies, all such institutions, or research and development institutes, or local communities, or Jila Panchayat, district administration. There has to be a well-managed, maintained communication. Good communication system is the one which facilitates very smooth flow of information to various places of decision making with list of friction, list of conflict. It means all the stakeholders, they are aware of the developments which are taking place in their domain and in the domain of others. अपने domain में जो हो रहा है आपको पता ही है, but what is happening the domain of others, you are also aware of that, and that brings that sequential action, collaborative action with list of friction and list of conflict. This is the key. So communication and coordination, if this area, if you're not strong, then network governance will become a liability. Different organizations, institutions will keep moving in the different directions. They may have come together to accomplish a common goal, but there's a possibility that behind the curtain, each of them is actually perpetuating its own narrow institutional goals. So conflict and friction is bound to take place. Goal displacement will take place. So communication and coordination is the lifeblood, of network governance. Your cooperation or collaborative action begins with communication. You need to develop very efficient means and mechanism for communication and coordination. All the stakeholders from time to time, they meet with one another. If there are any kind of problems or grievances, that has to be addressed. Clear? So regularly, they should meet for the problem and to devise ways and means to accomplish the things in the best possible manner with higher level of efficiency. Then conflicting goals, as I said, you have in network governance different institutions. You have more than one stakeholders, different actors. So they come together to accomplish something, but they still retain their distinct institutional goals. Sometimes conflict of interest takes that one of the actors is doing something in a way and manner that is undermining the interest or that is encroaching upon the jurisdiction of others. That's the point. So conflict of interest has to be managed. There may be conflict of interest between central government and state government, or state level institutions and the district administration, or district administration in the local community. So that the conflict of interest is required to be managed. And then you have measuring accountability. It becomes in collaborative action. Sometimes it becomes difficult to measure accountability because institutions, no doubt, they have their distinct operational domain and identity. But if the final outcome If the final outcome is not up to the mark, a final outcome is at variance with what was expected, then the blame shifting exercise begins. Who will assume the responsibility? It becomes difficult to enforce accountability. If you ask the local government, they would say, now, how can you hold us responsible? Because this kind of services were not provided by that company or this company. We were not given, the appropriate tools and techniques, or the computers that you have given is obsolete, is not working. We're not being given adequate financial resources. Then state government can shift the blame on happening. So enforcement of accountability becomes difficult. Measurement of accountability becomes difficult. Then resource dependency. So in network governance, organizations become dependent on one another. Sometimes what happens that if there is a problem, thanks to this complex dependency, institutional dependency, if any problem arises with one or two subsystems, so it disturbs the collective action under the network of different. So that dependency is there, but dependency has advantage as well as disadvantage. आप समुद्र आप कभी आप सी बीच पे कभी गए होंगे तो आपने देखा होगा वहाँ पे ऐसा होता है, लोग चैन बना करके समुद्र में जाते हैं, लहरें बहुत तेज हैं, जोरदार अकेले कर रहेंगे तो बहा के ले जाए, इसलिए 5-10 लोग क्या करेंगे, एक दूसरे का हाथ पकड़ लेते हैं। लहरें बहुत तेज होती हैं, तो उसमें छोटी मोटी लहरें अगर आए तो आपको एडवांटेज दिखता है कि ठीक है, कोई भी अगर लड़खड़ाया बाकी लोग उससे पकड़ लेंगे। लेकिन और बहुत जोरदार लहर अगर आ जाए और आपस में हाथ में उन्होंने ढंग से एक दूसरे को नहीं पकड़ा है, तो एक दूसरे को ढंग से नहीं पकड़ा है, इसकी वजह से क्या हुआ कि एक दो को भी जोरदार चोट अगर लगी, भयंकर अगर अगर तो वो तो खुद गिरेगा और साथ साथ दूसरों को भी ले जाएगा। ग्लोबलाइजेशन आप देख, इकोनॉमिक एक मैट्रिक्स ऑफ इंटरडिपेंडेंसी है अमंग डिफरेंट इकोनॉमी, उसका बहुत सारा एडवांटेज भी है। यू कैन अवेल ऑफ द बेनिफिट फ्रॉम वन अनदर, ठीक है, लेकिन नुकसान भी, अगर एक को सर्दी खांसी हुई उसके साथ जो जुड़े हैं वो भी गए। तो कई बार वो चेन जो आप बना के समुद्र में जा रहे हैं, उसका किसी सिचुएशन में उसका एडवांटेज भी है, लेकिन परिस्थिति बदलते देर नहीं लगती है कि ये चेन की वजह से ही जहाँ 2 लोगों को जाना था वहाँ 3-4-5 और पटक के सब गिर गए साथ में, ठीक है, एक दूसरे का हाथ पकड़ते समय नहीं मिला कि छुड़ा के भागे, इसकी वजह से भी जा सकते हैं। एक साथ इकट्ठे होकर चल रहे हैं तो कोई युद्ध जीत भी सकते हैं किसी जगह पे, और कई बार एक साथ इकट्ठे चले थे सारे सैनिक, इसलिए सब खत्म हो गए, ठीक है। तो कब साथ आना और एडवांटेजेस होगा, डिसएडवांटेज बताना। इसलिए क्या होता है कि नेटवर्क गवर्नेंस पे हम लोग कोशिश ये करनी है कि इंस्टीट्यूशंस व्हेन दे कम टुगेदर, ठीक है, तो मेरिट फार आउटवेज डिमेरिट। जो एडवांटेजेस है वो डिसएडवांटेज के हर चीज पे बात लागू होती है। कोई भी सिस्टम या टेक्नोलॉजी जो है उसके प्रति एक्सेप्टेंस जो है वो नेट इफेक्ट पे होता है। आईटी है तो आईटी के बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, साइबर क्राइम फलाना ठिकाना कई तरह के प्रॉब्लम्स हैं आईटी के, लेकिन उसके एडवांटेज भी बहुत अधिक है। तब तक ये चलेगा जब तक मेरिट्स और एडवांटेजेस फार आउटवे, तो हम लोग की कोशिश